is crazy if you think about the results that we had last season.
I mean, you say it, and I doubt it. Like, straight up, right away. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's impossible. They're going to come through. That's
Yeah.
what they always do. But it is a legitimate thing that could occur here. And we have a couple of days over the next few days to figure it out and see if it still will be a chance for our teams. But right now, Trick Esports and, of course, Expert in particular are in spots where they can make a real big fight to move to Kiev.
Yeah, Expert is going to be super interesting too. We heard a lot about Bad Benny being horseback riding this week, so they couldn't focus as much on their playstyle.
For you guys at home, yes, their Team Expert this week actually sent Bad Benny. They didn't send himself, but he went on vacation for a little bit and he went to horse camp. So
exactly,
Bad Benny is now a professional rider, and we'll see if his team can ride him to victory.
I can actually just imagine him being on the horseback, just bareback, of course, riding towards the sunset. The beard waving in the wind. I can totally see that. But before we talk about Expert, let's talk about Tricked and Team Good Guys. So right off the bat here on Battlefield of Eternity as a first ban, once again, Genji making an appearance. And we've seen a lot of the team. This is the ban that I'm interested in. Tricked. What are they going to get rid of? And right now, they are actually looking at targeting Tacita. Now, of course, Tacita is quite good with Illidan. The big question for me is, are the good guys again looking towards the draft? Traditionally, what they draft here is they go into a Stitches, they have their Illidan, they go into an Oriel plus a second support, and then they have Vala, Lunara, or Greymane in the back. And once more, they start off with Oriel.
Yep, start off with the Oriel, allows them to flex into what they would like. This is one of the few battlegrounds that we've seen the most variety from the Team Good Guys.
Yep.
We saw the triple backline actually against a Malfield composition in the past against Dignitas, so Team Good Guys is a bit flexible. It's just a matter of that they have such a good 5-man lineup already that if they can, they go for it every single time. This is the one battleground that you're probably not going to see that, but still, something that always think about in the back of your mind.
Interesting is also that when we're talking about Battlefield of Eternity, you mentioned that they are flexible here, and that's definitely true. And it's more so because there's several ways how you can approach the battleground. You can either force a team fight against your opponent, try to eliminate them, and then focus on the objective. You just can go for an Immortal race, or you just play around them and fight a side zone. But for now, Tricked starting things off with an Uther and a Nubarak in the first rotation. So the two heroes that have by far the highest participation rate in HGC Europe.
Yeah, this is usually becoming a very big trend of an answer back to whatever's picked up from that first pick. You grab the Uther, the Anubarak, and then you just go from there and let your teammates get what they want to pick up, which is usually going to be that hyper carry in this rotation now. Typically, you see the Vala in the mix-up. Greymane usually was in the top 3 here on BOE, but he's fallen actually a little bit dramatically on this battleground. We see him a little bit less.
I think we're definitely still going to see Greymane. There's so many compositions in which he is useful.
Yeah.
Just the Cursed Bullet alone, if you want to blow a target up, he absolutely excels. He has a great amount of damage against the Immortal itself, so in a race, he is fantastic. And he's also very mobile, so it's one of the big assets of the heroes for sure. But we are going to learn a lot about how the good guys try to play today by the next 2 picks. That's when we are going to see once again, okay, what are you going to try and do? Are you focusing on the team fights once again? Are they going to go into that double support? And they have immediately the double support and they have the Greymane. So at this point, they can still go into the Illidan. They can still support him here, but they're also a little bit more flexible towards the last 2 picks that they have to react to what Tricked is now doing.
Now, speaking about Illidan, why was Trick Esports so good at controlling Illidan? We saw a lot of Gul'dan from them. It's a comfort pick they pull off pretty darn well. Their Horrifies in particular is something that a lot of the teams don't pull off anymore. It used to be really strong in the last couple of weeks of Phase 1, but still, Trick Esports go back to that whenever they get the chance here. So watch out for Gul'dan. He could be in the rotation. In fact, Illidan won't even be an option for Trick Esports. They ban it out.
Yeah, Trick doesn't really respect Illidan to an extent that they say, hey, it's going to be a first ban for us. But given the chance on the second ban, they still go down that path despite what Alex said and said, hey, why would we give them another strong tool here? Gul'dan, you just pointed him out, how Trick loves to play with him. So both of the teams really doing their homework. Just analyzing what the opponent loves to draft and banning 2 of these tools out. Trick now, at the same time, they still need some range damage. We have seen a lot of poke around Li Ming, we've seen Lunara, we've seen Vala on the battleground. There's a lot of tools that you can use here, but I really want to know how the good guys are now trying to adapt, because I could see a Malthael for them. A Malthael, and then on the side of BKB, maybe it is the Stitches, maybe it's the Arthurs again. We saw him also on Muradin. So for me, a big question is really what's going to be the solo laner, since I could definitely see Malthea on the side of anti-hero.
This realm needs me.
Trick going down a traditional route here, grabbing the Arthas, which has been a main staple here in Europe on Battlefield of Eternity, but also for Trick esports in general, and they get that Li Ming poke you were mentioning.
Yeah, and let's not forget that with Li Ming taken on the Anubarak team, it also makes it a bit harder for the good guys to burn down the cocoon. They don't have a great tool to burn the cocoon just yet. So Arthur's taken, we have a double front line, and Arthur's and Anubarak have traditionally been a really favorite double front line in Europe. Fnatic played around it for a lot of time during the second phase, so it's the second part of phase 1. But I really wanted to see what the solo laner is going to be for the good guys. Is it going to be the Malthael for anti-hero, and what is BKB going to be playing? Will we see the Stitches? He can't go into Arthas anymore. But then again, do you really have the hook target here?
I think maybe Murden might be a tastier option, just because of you have the hook, but do you have the lockdown afterwards? They have a Rhaegar for a totem, maybe an Attainment Strike if they're near a wall, but those are very niche options that are available. I wouldn't mind seeing him pick up Murden instead, but they have been playing a lot of the Stitches. There's Lunara, there's Murden, so Team Good Guys in a spot here where they got decent damage and engage.
Yeah, and with that, we also know that we have potentially anti-hero on Greymane. I mean, there's a couple of things where they can really just try and shift it around a bit. They have the double support, so the question still remains which one of the two is Say going to be on the double support, which we've sometimes seen already. And anti-hero could definitely play the Greymane here. Lunara most likely going to be played by Raid Boss, so I would assume that right now Say has a good chance of ending up either on Greymane or on the second support. It has to be him or anti-hero.
Let's see here. What are we going to get? Top laner, definitely a possibility. Arthas could go up there instead if need be.
I would actually expect Arthas to be up at the top. Especially if Alex plays him, he likes to be on the solo lane with Arthas, and I think here he has a good shot. With Falstad now in the team, you also have more pressure towards the lane since you can make that quick rotation. So that it seems to be a really solid draft for Trick.
I like the Falstad pickup too. I feel like he's coming a little bit more into rotations and pickups for a lot of teams, simply for the mere fact of his split push ability, but also because of Lunara jumping in the map a lot. Lunara is a hero that will try to sit around the backside, being willing to be picked up, but if you go in for a large and gain to a fly, a Mighty Gust can really just ruin her day.
At this point, the only reason why you would... There's two reasons why you would pick up the Falstad over Vala. Vala has much better pressure against the Immortal. Falstad, on the other hand, has the Global, so you can gank the other lane, and he has the Mighty Gust as a potential disengage or just forcing an opponent into a fight. So that's something that they have to utilize. There's no other reason to pick Falstad over Vala in this case now. Vala, with the Immortal pressure that she has, would just be a huge asset to the team. But if they are playing a lot around pressure on the lanes with Falstad, utilizing the globals, getting side soaked, maybe setting also a gank up, that's where Falstad can really excel. And I think this is something that Trick is looking for.
Yeah, they're definitely wanting to control the Immortals a little bit better than their opponents and wait for them to make a mistake. If one oversteps or moves into a different direction or goes for a soak, you can force a fight right away. So Trick Esports will be the one to really be in a spot here to go for that trigger move, to go in for a fight and force something. If not, they just soak passively.
It's also, if someone, let's say for example Meridian, if he's a little bit too far out and gets focused, an immediate reaction on the side of the good guys would be to use the Aegis from Oriel. And if you then have your Gust ready, you can isolate the target even more. So Meridian is of course going to have some time then to maybe jump out if it's the Meridian. But any target that gets Aegis, there is a chance that Mighty Gust will be used as an isolation tool.
Well, let's get this started here. Game number 1. Team Good Guys taking on Trick Esports. Who will grab the lead in this best-of-5 series?
Heading into our first game, it's going to be Battlefield of Eternity, of course, and let's find out which one of the teams gets the upper hand and start in our best-of-5.
Here we go on the left side in the blue. We're going to have Crosby on Li Ming, Nape on Uther, Rimmer on Anubarak, Alex of Progi playing Arthas, and Make on Falstad.
And to the right side of the map, we have their opponents. The team in red, it is the Good Guys with Kronos on Oriel. We're seeing BKB on Murden as expected. Currently Xay on the second healer with Rhaegar. Anti-hero on Greymane. And last but not least, Raid Boss on Lunara.
I'm kind of interested to see Make on that Falstad. Is this the first time that we've seen him in the HGC playing this hero? Because if so, Falstad is one of these heroes that requires certain moments where you have to go in and make a play. If you miss out on that play, it really can hurt your team. So Make being the newest member here for Trick Esports, them getting that trust and putting him on Falstad means a lot for this team.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and we haven't seen him yet on that hero. He goes also into the Gathering Storm, so we are already seeing him on the solo lane, or going up against 4 actually at this point, since rotations are happening between the two teams. But he's going to try and get some extra burst damage in, and they are jumping onto Kronos immediately with his Anubarak moving in. Rema gets the stun in now as well, but Make eating a ton of poke from Raid Boss.
Yeah, Falset in the early game does have a bit of a harder time in trades if he doesn't get the leg up, and you see that there with Falset walking away at the lower health. He has to go back and tap, and of course get healed up. But I do like the engage on the Ariel. With the double support being more and more being played by a lot of teams, we're seeing more aggression toward the supports and trying to break them in the early game. If you can get a kill or two, it can usually give you a nice solid movement in that bottom lane to grab experience and of course push your opponent back.
Yeah, and of course talking about kills, Trick is really relying on the resets that they want to have on their Li Ming. So once that Crosby gets these resets, he can just put even more pressure on them. And against a double support, that's oftentimes a bit of an issue. But once you get the first kill in, that snowballs really hard.
Particularly if you kill the assassin, Lunara here. If she dies, it just completely falls apart until Greymane can come in for the rotation. So here we go, straight into it. Falset is heading to the top lane to help out Arthas. He's now in the bush waiting around. Make hoping to take out Anti, but Anti playing nice and safe.
And that actually did two things for them. He can go for the Immortal, which he doesn't. He wants to join up with the rest of the team. So the idea was really to utilize the Global to put some extra pressure onto Greymane as he rotates down. But Antihero was playing it very safe here, realizing, of course, the danger that he could be in. And with Greymane, they have an easy tool also to just burst these waves down so that they still get some side soak while defending their own Immortal.
Yeah, they'll definitely try to put 3 people near that Greymane or anyone that is going for that off soak just to make sure they can move towards him if there is a gank that comes in from Falset. But so far, Team Good Guys are handling this Falset play from Trick Esports well. You have to do it throughout the entire match, but for now, they're looking good.
Also, with Gathering Storm being used on Falstad, we are seeing now him having even more wave clear, especially after he picked up Boomerang. So that can be a great tool where you try to play the map and play the macro game more so than team fights. Talking about fights, BKB is in a lot of trouble here and finally falls, taking a lot of free damage early on already, and then trying to make a retreat, but being cut off and forced into the tower range even.
Yeah, that was well played by Trick. They forced a fight in the middle, and Murden didn't have a route to go on the right side because of Alex Aproji, and they were able to get the pick. In fact, Trick is looking for more picks here. They're moving straight into Anti here, chasing him low on health, but Raid Boss on the right side steps forward. And remember, we're raiding towards that level 7 before Lunara does become a major threat to the opponent's team, but for now, Raid Boss, they're getting it done.
Yeah, so it was a kill against Muradin that we saw in the game, but as you said, Raid Boss is really getting it done with all the damage that he puts out onto Trick. And even with a kill, Trick couldn't really get any extra damage against the Immortal. Now they themselves are all of a sudden in trouble, as we always see Lunara dishing out the damage and the double support keeping everyone alive. There's a big advantage of having Auriel in these fights with the Lunara. You don't need mana, so your sustain in these fights is absolutely fantastic.
Yep, you want your Lunara on the front page, constantly trying to put that damage in, because for Trick Esports, they do have the poke advantage for sure. If they're able to sit back and just shell stuff out with the Hammering and Li Ming, they can win team fights over a long duration, so Lunara has to get up there, and she keeps doing so. Raid Boss is being a bit aggressive, but remember, with double support, you can do this. Now, the Immortal phase finally does break here. We're going straight to the halftime show. Here
comes the stun, and Uberak dives in, tries to get BKB once again. The rest of the team, on the other hand, focuses Alex. Raid Boss with great positioning once again, just getting maximum amount of value. Where's the heal? Lunara doesn't have the cooldown, and that's the kill against Draga. Stuck in a chain stun. Very unfortunate for him, and if Lunara falls here too, that would be a disaster, and indeed she does. Knappe confirming the kill here, and that's 3 kills against 0.
Make, though, might be in trouble. Anti comes in, brings out the damage, and might just barely not be able to get the kill on Falset. BKB is hungry, but he's not going to be able to satisfy that hunger, as Make does get away.
But they are still looking good on the Immortal. They lost 3 heroes, but they're still doing work here with their Greymane, with their Lunara, and they are very likely to, they could even win it. If not for the stun circles that appeared just at the right moment in time, there was a high chance for them to win the Immortal. And that is pre-Lunara getting even more value.
Now, I am curious to see how Trick Esports will take this Immortal phase. Typically in the past, they put 5 people on the opposite lane and just push it instead. And for now, they're actually looking like they're going to put 4 in the bottom and Arthas in the top. So they're intending to soak here, but apply damage on the opposite side of the battleground to force Team Good Guys in a spot to where they lose something.
And also, Lunara not going, sorry, not Lunara, Auriel not going for the normal cooldown reduction build that we see in double support compositions these days. But now with the level 7 hitting for Trick, they have Boomerang. And that is really when Falstad is picking up so much more wave clear and can start to burst down also heavily against the Immortal. So Marcus should have more and more of an impact in this game as it continues. But we have also the Calamity on the side of Li Ming. So the damage output on their end has just significantly increased, which will help them in the team fights.
Yeah, they'll be in a good spot just to collapse on a member that may get picked off. When the Mighty Gust comes in at level 10, someone gets pushed into an area, Li Ming can all in on that target with a Q into a W, a big Calamity. And of course, false up damage should be enough to kill anyone off, except for possibly the Murder. Now, Trick Esports in a spot here where they didn't really get too much of the Immortal. Honestly, Team Good Guys had a really good defense, and part of it was due to Trick being low and having to Hearthstone back and heal on up before pushing with it.
Yeah, right now it just fights over the camps down here, and Trick is just pushing the issue. Yeah, really going hard on BKB in particular. He always has to struggle here, so it's always a bit tricky for him. But right now, we're having still half a level of a disadvantage for the Good Guys. That could become a problem when we're talking about the second Punisher, especially with the side soak potential that Falstad offers to the team.
Yeah, they should be in a spot where they're around 9 and possibly Trick Esports starting to hit 10. If they can force a fight before the second half of the Immortal phase, I can see a spot where they can win that Immortal, but it is going to be quite difficult. BKB is coming in for a flank here. Rimmer gets away with the Burrow charge, and Make is just in a position where Muradin in particular can't quite get that lockdown, and Team Good Guys, once again, will be foiled.
And now let's not forget that the level 7 spike that we talked about on Trick is also mirrored by strong talents coming into play for the Good Guys now. The Splintered Spear on Lunara alone, we alluded to the talent a few times already earlier, is fantastic. It gives Oriel also more hope, more energy for her heals. She has the cooldown reduction now on the heal on top of that too. Muradin is getting his own cooldown reduction thanks to the Iron Forge momentum. And we now have the stacking talent on Greymane plus a cleanse. So this power spike that we saw on the side of Trick is definitely mirrored by one that the Good Guys can now field into that second Immortal phase.
And for some of you asking here, when do we pick up Lunara? When you see there are 2 to 3 melees on the opposing team that you for sure can get value at that level 7 here. In the draft, Lunara wasn't picked up until the 4th slot, and at that point, Uther, Anubrak, and Muradin were all showing on the board, which made Lunara a very valuable pick.
Especially with Oriel as a first pick for them, so you can really tell how they're running this. They could have also moved into a Vala instead, but the Lunara made a lot of sense for them here. So once again, having the teams racing for the Immortal, Falstad is getting experience up at the top, and we see Lunara and also Greymane starting to move to the Immortal of Trick Esports, and that's what Trick has to start a defense, because that pressure against the objective is just so insane from them, especially since we also have the Lightning Bond from Rhaegar.
I really like that Team Good Guys was forcing the issue here because they knew Tim was on the way, but it's getting to a point where it might be deadly for them. They have to be careful here. Make shredding away here on the side, 10 just barely looming on the side here, and the moment they hit 10, they should move into their Immortal and kind of all in it here. Crosby and Make are already doing so because Team Good Guys will naturally pull away. You don't want to be in a position where you get picked off.
Yeah, they were tempted, of course, to go for the Immortal. They have the better race, but at the same time, they can't deal with the heroic ability. And that is exactly what we've mentioned earlier with Falstad having the side soak readily available for Trick Esports. So thanks to that little advantage, they could get another Immortal. The Good Guys had to move back. There was no chance for them to get access to the heroic ability to actually make that fight happen. So really well done by Trick. And the question still remains, though, how much value are they now going to get out of that talent lead?
Team Good Guys working on 10 themselves. They put Rhaegar in the top, but the fort already taking damage, so that isn't value itself. Its infrastructure will begin to fall for the Good Guys. Falstad even queuing up a fly here, heading straight to the top here to slow down the push coming their way. So Trick looking like they're not going to go for more here. They know at 10 there is some fear that Good Guys will have their own power spikes with heroic abilities.
So now we have the 10 versus 10. The rotation to the top has started. Immortal will still pressure the bottom wall, but we are seeing Trick invading hard here, going for Xay, or at least trying to stop Cold. And here comes a quick gust, making sure that they have a bit more extra time. They get free damage onto the fort, but the Good Guys are willing to fight.
Good Guys willing to fight. BKB leading the charge, moving in here. A slow one on Anubrak. He will burrow charge away, and they will save their fort, but it is pretty bruised. It's only a few hundred health points being available on that fort, so Trick can revisit it again. But for now, Team Good Guys, with having the heroic abilities up, are back in this game.
It's still pretty impressive how much value Trick got out of the second Immortal. They destroyed the fort at the bot lane, nearly took down the one at the top, finished what they started right now, and they also got parts of the wall at the bot lane, so very well done. And Good Guys, they identify they need to fight right now before the 13. Here comes the Cocoon, immediately being attacked, but nice stuns come through, and Muradin is destroyed.
BKB a bit aggressive there. Rhaegar might pay for his life too. Yes, Impale does connect. Resets are coming in, and Crosby is hoping for more kills. He gets a total of 3 here. And that fight happened in a 4v5. Muradin went in way too early. Greymane was still halfway across the map before he even got there.
But that was also pretty insane, because one of the reasons why this fight went south for the good guys is Ancestral didn't connect.
Yeah.
And if you looked at the timing, that must have been 0.2 seconds or something before that would hit. I thought already that the Ancestral went through and somehow the damage just got stacked upon it, but that wasn't really the case. It got reset to the normal cooldown. It was after he was in the cocoon, so that just barely didn't hit. If that goes through, Muradin has a very good chance of surviving there, and they might turn the fight.
Oh, yeah, it was a bit of a hard fight for them. Trick Esports was able to manage to lock down the supports on that backline and focused on the Muradin. And eventually, it would have been maybe a swing if the Ancestor went off, but Team Good Guys sadly not getting it.
The big problem for the good guys is that now Trick can really start to snowball this hard. They have a talent lead, and they dive in again. Lunara is not able to do anything here, not able to save Oriel, not able to give her enough of a hope. BKB also falling. This is just Trick snowballing this. They have a massive level 13 where they now have more additional wave clear. They have the cooldown reduction kicking in for Falstad, so he can just take full use of his mage stat build. And they're even invading the opponent's camp. This is the best case scenario. A 2-level lead, a talent advantage, camps everywhere, still Falstad to push out. They should get another Immortal, and for the good guys, this can only be an attempt to hit level 13 and then somehow defend against an insane Immortal here.
Yeah, this is the moment where you're happy you picked up a Global, because your Global, if you're ahead, becomes even more effective. He's pushing in the bottom lane, wave clearing forward, can fly in at any point, while Trick Esports has a lead on the Immortal phase. And with 13 being the talent Team Good Guys need, they're forced to defend.
Exactly, they have a camp against them, up at the top lane. Falstad is pushing out the bot lane already. Trick is now going for their own camp because it buys them even more time since the bot lane's already pushed out. And good guys, they're trying to fight, but they just simply can't. And they're still losing time at the bot. So now they all of a sudden have 2 lanes that push hard against their keeps. And they are in a loss-loss situation. They can't do anything here. They have to defend their lanes, but they also have to defend the Immortal. And they simply can't spread themselves out that thin.
They're trying to force a fight here. They do get a Tainment Strike on top of Rimmer, but Rimmer kites back right away. Aegis is popped on BKB. He will be healed up, and Nape is taking damage. Uther keeps moving forward, though. The Divine Storm goes off, and Greymane is still alive here, but Rhaegar gets picked off.
Rhaegar down, and they want another one. They go for Greymane. Anti-hero in trouble. Bursted away and dying, and not only him, Oriel also eliminated. Crosby's taking advantage of the resets, at least trying to. They go for Raid Bus, and he won't be able to escape either. That's another kill. This is 12 kills against 0, and an easy Immortal to be picked up by Trick Esports, as their camp is still pressuring the bottom keep.
Yep, still pushing in that camp. The turnaround on Falstad will happen here for BKB. He's trying to make a play all by himself as Murd and maybe trying to buy some time. He does dodge a Howling Blast, is still walking away. Stormbolt connects, there drops the W, but BKB eventually falls. And now they're in a state where they have staggered deaths.
That was a big mistake. This is one of those moments where you can always argue, does it really matter anymore because you're already so far behind? But there was no need for him to die here. The chances of him making a play against Falstad and really getting the kill were slim to none. And with him falling, we have now another time window for Trick. So even when the good guys had everyone back on the map, he just fell. That's another 30 seconds where you can't do anything because you are down 1 member of your team. So that was a big problem here for the good guys. Maybe with a 5 versus 5, they could have tried to force something. They're at least on even talents, but now with the Immortal being on nearly 100% shields, this is at least going to be keep.
Trick Esports will have to deal with Team Good Guys. They come in for a big flank. They're trying to force a fight as they know some Immortal will be a pain. Cocoon will be used on the left side. It is being dealt with. Zay comes in. He will have the heal available for Oriel. Can he hit it? Kron's still low on health.
Missing the Ancestral Palm. Yeah, that would be nice. And we have 2 heroes dying immediately. The Oriel and the Rhaegar both falling. Greymane now dying too. Misclick from Zay, confirming the team loss here, or the fight loss. This is... He just healed Muradin when he was at full health.
Yeah, just a bit of a misclick there. Unfortunate for them. We'll go straight in for the keep, but that was probably the closest fight they had the entire game there. That call, I don't mind it here. With this Immortal pushing in the top lane, very difficult there for them to defend.
The call was the only good call to make, and that's why Trick was ready for it, because they knew that the good guys would try to get a flank after the Immortal. And it was a nice attempt. Muradin jumping out, trying to get the stun and then the burst damage, but it wasn't enough. Now they're 4 levels behind. They are lacking the talent. and the Immortal alone should really hurt the Koa. This should be it, especially now that Lunara falls. There's no chance for the good guys to turn this around.
Well, if you believe in Anti, maybe he can move forward here and get a win, but it's not looking like it. Mighty Gust comes out from Make. Core starts to fall dramatically here, dropping down to 20%, down to 0, and that's going to be GG here as Trick Esports takes game number 1 against the good guys.
Yeah, that was pretty much a beatdown that we just saw. 18 kills against 0 towards the end of the game. That was brutal.
There's still a saving grace here. Trick Esports, this is one of their best battlegrounds. This is one that they usually come out and they just kind of do well, even against the top teams. So that is still a saving grace. If you're the good guys, you don't want to freak out and get ready for game number 2.
My first reaction when I heard it was like, really? Do tell. Like, okay, Battleground, I get it.
Battleground. We got to
still.
find something here, even if it is just a small string. So going into game number 2, the good guys will have a chance here to get first pick or, of course, move into the Battleground themselves. But hold your head up high, and now maybe we can start seeing that Illidan in the mix.
This is definitely one of the games that you have just to simply immediately forget about. This game can't tilt you. There were a lot of individual mistakes that we saw. BKB trying to make a play against 5, say missing in basically 100% Ancestral. There was already an Aegis, which basically just printed a target onto it. And it's like, click me, heal me. And then he misclicks and hits the Muradin. Again, at that point, they were already on the back foot, so it's questionable if those moves would really have turned it around completely. But a lot of individual mistakes, great play also by Tricked. This is one of the games where you have to just say, okay, things didn't work out. Let's just shut that out, try on the first map, and make sure that we get a better draft and a better game there.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some variety there from the good guys. Typically, we see the Stitches picks, we see the Illdens, the Malthaels, and none of those were actually in the rotation. We had our raid boss, Lunara, which was impressive in itself, but going into game number 2, we're expecting those other globals to come in. The Illidan hunts really trying to pop in. In the past, we've even seen the good guys first pick up that Illidan if they need to. And again, if not, there's always a Malthael available, and with it being a bigger battleground and not being BOE, there's that chance that we'll actually see from them.
I would like to see the Illidan play, not only because I really love the comp that they play with it, but also I want to see if Trick can really shut it down. Trick has been very vocal about their ability to counter the best draft that the good guys can get.
Sure.
And I want to see if that is actually true. They did it against Team Liquid, but let's say, for example, you pick the Illidan early and you ban out the Gul'dan. Is Trick really able to make that play without having the Horrify to isolate them? How are they going to play around that? So I would be really interested to see that game. So if we have, let's say, Cursed, for example, I wouldn't mind that, since Cursed is one of the maps where the good guys have been running that Illidan composition a lot.
The 2 battlegrounds that I feel like the good guys go to right away when they want to earn a victory is either Infernal Shrines or the Cursed Hollow. And I would like for them in going to game number 2 to pick one of those up because they have so much variety they can pull out. The only thing they have to worry about, though, on Infernal Shrines in particular is, again, that Gul'dan for Trick Esports. They pull that out all the time here, and they're very effective with it, and they can control space very well. So we'll see what the good guys will be moving into as we're setting up for game number 2.
Another map would also be Towers of Doom.
True.
Illidan thrives there with his pseudo-global that he has, so that would also be pretty cool to see. But Tricked is just impressing once again. They did so well when they had their team members at the Tricked house, and now Knapper actually said that he's back in Sweden, so they moved back. They are planning to actually spend more time over there. But that training session alone helped them so much already. So I'm pretty hyped to see what they can do here, because I still believe that there's an honest chance they can make it to the Western Clash.
Yeah.
And you just have to think about it for a moment. You really have to pause for a second and think about it. Last season, everyone had high hopes for Tricked. Then we were even talking about them falling into the Crucible, and I'm just avoiding that. Now we are at the nearly at the end of part 2 of phase 2, and we are looking at Tricked and saying like, yeah, they could be at the Western Clash.
It's possible, yeah.
So from one phase to another, all of a sudden, everything changed. And that is just absolutely crazy. They jumped so high with their play.
That's a testament to really how well they're working together as a team, and Make growing into his own here. I mean, constantly bringing out different heroes. We saw Falstad for the first time. I feel like there were some moments where we could work on that Falstad, but still, the team is really coming together and showing up. Now, let's go ahead and get ready for game number 2. Which battleground will we be going to between our teams? It has been picked up by Trick Esports. In fact, we are going to Cursed Hollow as Antihero and crew want to grab first pick.
Yeah, that's actually really cool that we have that. That makes me kind of happy. It's interesting that Trick brings them to Cursed Hollow, because Cursed Hollow is so far, I think, one of the best battlegrounds that we have from TGG. They won on this map against Dignitas too, so that was actually impressive. But yeah, this is going to be a really good one.
It feels like they're inviting the Illidan play a little bit here. They're like, hey, let's go to Cursed Hollow and see if we can just shut you guys down like we did with Team Liquid. And this is a battleground that you will see Illidan on often, even Abathur in the mix too. We've been seeing that from Team Good Guys in the past.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what happens here. Maybe the early Illidan ban after all, but I would believe that TGG is going to look towards their favorite draft here once again and just switches out heroes out. So an early pick on Oriel, probably trying to get her again and then combo her off with one of the 3 ranged assassins that we talked about a bit earlier. But I want to see, I want them to actually play to their potential, to their level. Something that we've seen in the last few weeks when they played against Dignas. Yeah, the good guys just really bringing the pain right now, playing that aggressive game that they usually do. And let's see if Trick can shut that down.
Yeah, I'm expecting it here in game 2. Just with game number 1 being on BOE. BOE is one of these maps that if you have like a weird shot call in a different scenario, you can be 2 to 3 levels behind suddenly. It becomes that much more harder for you. Cursed Hollow, a little bit more figured out, more stuff to play with here, especially how Team Good Guys like to play the game. They seem to like to force engages, with Stitches in particular, force fights that they can win and have Anti on the side, just constantly soaking, moving up and coming in for a big rotation, getting the late game power spikes that are available, and Cursed Hollow speaks towards all of that. So we should be able to see them in their full, mode, if you will. What Team Good Guys want to do.
Yeah, they had a lot of confidence, and both of the teams have been on and off a bit. The inconsistency is one of the big weaknesses that basically everybody else points out when we're talking about Tricked and about the good guys. But so far, Tricked has been really looking better and better the entire phase. And if they perform today well against TGG and then have a good showing against Zealots, they would be so close hitting the Western Clash. It still amazes me. It's fantastic. And of course, there's quite a few teams that have something to say about that. Team Liquid being one of them, Dignitas,
Sure.
and then also the experts. But we're getting already a bit ahead of ourselves. So let's focus at game number 2 and see if TGG can turn it around here.
Well, let's see what will be happening here. Bans usually indicate that we're going to be getting Genji as a ban right away, especially against Trick Esports. However, there is a chance for Team Good Guys to take it themselves if they want to go ahead and just leave it open and force Trick to go down that path of banning out the Genji.
Yeah, a ban on Genji would be one of the options here, for sure. I mean, the most bans that we see, Uther is being banned a lot, Genji is banned a lot, and we of course still have Anubarak in the pre-Stukov patch